Hi guys, it's Steph here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to do my wrap up for the week of October the 8th to the 14th. This week I read a total of 5 books, 2,036 pages, and my yearly reading total is now up to 213 books. I didn't attend any bookish things this week. It was the first week back at work for the last term of the year for me, so it's been a little bit nuts. It feels like I never had a holiday, to be perfectly honest, but that's a bit of the way that it is with teaching. The first book I want to share with you is Warcross by Marie Lu. This is a 2017 release. It is very, very hyped here on BookTube. It has been published by Penguin and I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5, which is not to say that it's a perfect book, because it's not, and in a minute I'm going to go through a list of the things that bothered me about this book, and then I'm going to tell you why I rated it so high in spite of those things that bugged me. Warcross is about Amika Chen, who is a hacker. She is living in a world that is currently obsessed with a virtual reality game called Warcross. One day while she is hunting down people who are trying to exploit the game, she unintentionally hacks herself into the opening ceremony of the Warcross Championships. She is recruited by the creator of Warcross to assist him in tracking down someone who is disrupting the Warcross games, and she finds herself suddenly a player in the championships, and it sort of goes on from there. I'm going to start with the things that bothered me first, just so I can then explain why I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is my first experience of Marie Lu's writing, and it's very easy to read, but I didn't find it overly sophisticated. So it's sort of read younger YA in terms of writing style. That said, there were constant references to Amika's rainbow hair, which is really cool because I like rainbow hair and I think it's awesome that she has it, but every time anything happens that references her hair, it's always her rainbow hair. And it's like after the first 3 times in the first 2 chapters, I get it. I get she's got rainbow hair and that's cool. You don't have to keep referencing it because we know. And I'm just wondering if that's a poor editing choice. There was a completely unnecessary romance in this book. Not only was it rushed, but it also didn't really serve a purpose, in that the characters involved could have struck up a very mutual respect and friendship. And I think it would have almost been more effective what happens later on to these characters. The romance was just super rushed and kind of unrealistic in these circumstances. And overall, the book was a bit predictable. I mean, I sorted out what was going to happen fairly early on, and I'm not really good at doing that sort of stuff, and even I did it in this book. So those are my problems. However, Warcross fits into a category of things that I just naturally gravitate towards in terms of my media consumption, so books, TV and movies, because it was fast-paced, it had quite a bit of action in it, and it was fun. And when I want real escapist reading, that is what I want in a book. And it's the same for movies and TV. I don't really care about plot. I literally, like those things that were problems for me, I acknowledged them and I read them and I knew that they were problems for me, but I completely ignored them. And I just kept reading. I couldn't put the book down. And for me, that is the sign of something that I really enjoy. So while I'm not going to give it 5 out of 5 stars, I can't not give it a higher rating, because for me, I intensely enjoyed this story while my mind filled in the gaps of these problems. So it's a strange way to read, and I don't do it all the time, but there are certain books that do that, and I can't help it. I had fun with it. It's also super pretty underneath. I don't know. Does my ability to ignore things that annoy me make me a bad reader, and does that, skew my other ratings? Not necessarily, because reading is an intensely personal thing, and I think the ratings that you give book, if you choose to give ratings, and this is why a lot of people don't, because you're comparing across genres, across writing styles, and across preferences. So when I rate, I'm rating my personal experience, not anyone else's, and feel free to tell me down below what your thoughts are on it, but I did really enjoy this. I am looking forward to the second one to find out what happens. It was just fun. The second book I read this week was Nevermoor by Jessica Townsend, and this is a 2017 release. It was published by Little Brown Books for Young Readers, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is a beautiful story, and it is very hyped up here in Australia from what I gather, because people are touting it as like the next Harry Potter, and I can get that reference. I understand it, but it's not Harry Potter, and I think it would be best served to say that it's, the new big thing in fantasy, because it was just absolutely captivating. I really enjoyed this. Nevermoor is the series. The first book is called The Trials of Morrigan Crow, and our main character, Morrigan Crow, is living in a world that is reminiscent of our world. It's like London, but in her society, people believe that she is cursed because she was born on eventide, and they attribute everything bad that happens in their town to her, and her father cannot wait to be rid of her because the curse dictates that she will die on her 11th birthday. Her 11th birthday comes around and she meets a man named Jupiter North who offers to spirit her away and save her from her fate, and she suddenly finds herself in the world of Nevermoor. Everything is just a little bit more and very wondrous, and it was just delightful. The characters are really clever. Morrigan is a young character who's really trapped by her circumstances, and then she's discovering a new world for the first time, and she's not the most socially forward girl, and she finds social situations a little bit awkward and making friends because she's never had friends before. And so the whole thing is sort of really confronting, and suddenly she is entered into the trials to become a member of the Wondrous Society by Jupiter North. So he sponsored her in these trials, and she has no idea what to expect, and she doesn't even know how she passes particular trials or what's expected of her. Every second was just so enjoyable in this. It was really easy to read. It's a great middle grade book for younger readers. There's just enough mystery in it for there to be a little bit of suspense, but it's not overdone. I can't wait for the next book. The third book I read was Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rush. This is the first book in this particular series. This was published by Belzer and Bray in 2015, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is a fantasy book that is set in a world that has 8 kingdoms. The Kingdom of Winter has been completely obliterated by the King of the Spring Kingdom, and most of the Winterians have been kept as slaves in Spring's kingdom, except for a handful of rebels who managed to escape, including Mayra, who is an orphaned girl. She can't remember her parents, and she is living with these refugees, training to be a warrior so that she can learn to support and protect her best friend and the future King Mather. They're in search of an ancient locket that holds the secret to Winter's power, and as Mira goes after it, she is drawn into a world that is full of magic and full of danger and things that she couldn't have possibly imagined. There are a lot of things that I liked in this book. I liked the setting. I liked this idea of the seasons being kingdoms. It sort of reminds me a little bit of Akmaf in that sense. I liked Mira. She was strong and she was kick-ass, and she didn't like people telling her what she had to do, and especially when it was because she had to do it because she was a woman. There was a love triangle in here. I didn't mind this love triangle, but it was a bit blah anyway. So, I mean, there wasn't anything to do. Like, for example, there is a scene where Mira and the 2 guys that are interested in her, where they engage in a sword fight. And I'm sitting there going, this is kind of cool because I like sword fights. And then I'm sitting there going, but no, it's not, because she should go in there and she should kick both their asses because she's better than both of them. And that's true. However, I digress. I thought it was interesting. It was very easy to read. I was very invested in Mira, but I picked what was going to happen from about chapter 2. So it was just a process of waiting out to see what happens. So either I'm getting better at picking out what's happening in books, or I'm just reading really predictable books. I don't know. Still, I enjoyed it. It was a good fun read, and I may eventually pick up the second book in the series. I don't own it, so we'll just have to wait and see. It's not something I'm desperate to go out and buy at the moment. That is one of the last books on my September-October revisited TBR to read for last year. I'll leave a link to that video up above if you haven't checked it out already. Another book from that list is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This was published in 2006 by Harper Voyager, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this one. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as Snow Like Ashes, but I actually enjoyed this one more. And I've just realized I read 2 books in a row with ashes in the title, so I don't know what that says about me. This is another fantasy series, and it is set in a world where the martial empire has conquered the scholars and rules over them with martial law. Leia is a scholar, and she lives with her grandparents and her brother, but one night her grandparents are killed and her brother is taken prisoner, and Leia is left to hunt for the rebels in order to help free her brother from prison. In exchange for their help, she must go undercover inside the military academy called Blackcliff and spy on the commandant of Blackcliff, who is quite a sadistic woman in her own right. If she is discovered as a spy, her life is essentially forfeit. The commandant is not a very nice lady. At the academy, she meets Elias, who is the academy's finest student. He has just graduated. However, Elias holds a secret that he can't tell anyone inside the academy. He wants to be free. He wants to escape from this life that he has been training for since he was 6 or 7 years old. But to do that would mean death for him and probably for many of his friends. There are a whole lot of other twists and turns in this story, which I won't talk about because that would be giving away a few spoilers. That I think this was a good book to go in blind to. I had no idea what it was about, and I think I enjoyed it more for that, so I'm not going to give away too much more. However, the decisions that Leia and Elias make, and really a lot of the decisions that their friends make as well as they're going through this journey, it's fascinating to see the impacts it has throughout as well. I really liked Elias as a character. I thought his internal struggle with the life that he knows and the life that he wants to lead was really poignant, and at times it was absolutely heartbreaking. Leia, I think it took a lot longer for me to enjoy her character. It took longer to be invested in her story than it did Elias's, which is a change for me because normally I'm far more invested in the female lead's story than I am in the male's. But this time Elias I just found really compelling because his story was so conflicted. There is not one, but 2 love triangles in this story, and yeah, it was interesting. One of them I actually found really heartbreaking, and I'm not going to say which one it is, but if you've read the story and you'd like to talk about it, feel free to let me know. Happy to do that. But yes, 4 out of 5 stars. This one I'm more inclined to pick up the second book in the series, but I've got so many other things at the moment that I probably won't for a little while, but I would definitely be interested in finishing this particular book series. And the last book that I read this week was Moxie by Jennifer Matthew, and this is so fun. This is a 2017 release from Hodder's Children's Books, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It is so fun. It is a contemporary book. It is about a girl named Vivian who attends high school in a small town in Texas, and at her high school, the boys of the footy team basically rule the roost, and they get away with anything and everything, including putting women down, treating them like objects, and generally being pigs. Vivian is inspired by her mother's riot girl past to stand up to the boys at the school, and she does so by creating a zine that she distributes anonymously through the school's girls' bathrooms. And she doesn't really have an idea about what this could possibly mean. She's just hoping to find some kindred spirits within the school. She's not an outspoken person. She's not one of the popular kids. She's just a normal girl who is tired and fed up of the appalling behavior of some of the boys. I shouldn't say it's all of the boys, but some of the boys. Along the way, she makes new friends as a result of it. And there are some really wonderfully realistic friendships in here where not everything is always easy. You're not best friends with people just because you've got a common goal. Even your real best friends, people you've known for a long time, they might not understand where you're coming from when you're trying to spread an idea that is so different to what they're used to. There is a really lovely romance in here as well, and I thought it was really well done. It was really natural, and the ups and downs of it was so lovely and so honest. This was just really refreshing, and it is definitely something that all teenagers, boys and girls, should read. I highly, highly recommend this one. So those are the 5 books that I read this week. Pretty good reading week, considering that I enjoyed just about everything that I read. Let me know in the comments what you have been reading this week. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.